Good evening. I would like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, January 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call to establish a quorum, if you would, Amy.
Supervisor Danielle?
Here.
Supervisor Hain?
Here.
Supervisor Waite?
Here.
Chairman Moffel?
Here.
And Supervisor Vogel is excused.
All right, way to go. Let's do a little meet and greet. We have so many guests tonight, this will probably take 45 minutes. We'll start with you, sir.
I'm Jim Mitchie. I live at 4159 Bay Shore Drive.
All right.
Good evening, I'm Hugh Zettel, District 14 County Board Supervisor, also at 3986 Clinton Drive.
Rick Baldwin, 4217 Heverly.
Greg Nellis, 4216 Highway 57.
Kurt Kroll, Sevastopol Board Crew Chief, Elaine Drive.
Trent Olson, 5856 Timber Ridge Road.
George Zachariason, 1690 Bluff Court Trail.
Gentlemen, you want to introduce yourselves?
Derek Denise, North Country Road.
Larry Chapman, Clinton Drive.
All right, good. And welcome to all. Public participation. Anyone wishing to speak on something that is not on our agenda? Geez, I had a feeling you might. Yes, Jack.
Dick Baldwin. I'm going to make this as short as I can because I know you got other things. Several years ago, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you folks for doing what you do for our town and our county board. Appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. Several years ago, I came to this group and asked for support in recommending a boat launch be considered in Whitefish Dunes State Park. There was a letter written. It did its job. We've got the provision in the master plan in Whitefish Dunes State Park to have a boat launch in the park between the park office and Cave Point. But it needs to have a feasibility study. And to that extent, we now have a room tax in the county and it's generating some funds. And in talking with the folks that administer that plan, they felt that their off-the-cuff sort of a feel was that those funds would be eligible for funding a feasibility study. So what we need is some support to get that initiated, and it's not a town issue. I think it's more of a county issue, but I think with town support from both town of Sevastopol and town of Jacksonport, that there's a good potential that we can get the county to address that and get something moving. And going beyond the feasibility study, there's the room tax I don't think is going to go away anytime soon, and it could be seed money toward a project like that. That opens up another subject that I'd like to touch on, and that is the road access. In conversations with parks people, one of the concerns or objections that they had is that the road servicing in the area that we talked about for a ramp really wasn't wide enough, good enough for towing vehicles with boat trailers. However, as you all know, it serves motor coaches and RVs and travel trailers and what have you to go to the county park, Cave Point. And that opens up another issue when we talk about roads, and that's my second point that I wanted to talk about. Because I'm under the impression that because of the increased traffic to the county park, Cave Point, there's a need for some revamping of the roads accessing Cave Point. And it's my understanding, and I've I stand corrected if this is not accurate, but starting from Shower Park, coming to Cave Point from the north, that road will be a dead-end road. And so to access some 50 private residential lots, you'll have to come down this dead-end road, which is all wooded on both sides. I just heard a few minutes ago that some folks experienced power outages just within the last few days. The other thing, as far as I can see, I doubt that a dead-end town road is going to be a priority for snow removal or much of anything else. Whereas if that was a county road, it would have a priority with regard to maintenance and snow removal. On the south end, where it's the town of Sevastopol, it's my understanding that that road is intended to be abandoned and turned into a park trail. Well, it's going to take Mother Nature a good long time to heal that scar up to make it quote unquote a park trail, but albeit it won't be a town road. And then to access the county park, Cave Point, we're going to punch a new road for over a quarter of a mile, close to a half a mile, through an area that's undeveloped. There's no disturbance in there. It's natural. And now we're going to punch a totally new road in there, which again is going to be a dead-end road to service the county park. I feel very strongly about improving the existing two town roads and creating a continuation of a scenic drive along the lake shore and have it as a county road makes a whole lot more sense than destroying that amount of natural area going in there for a dead-end road to serve the county park. So the two are tied together because if, and it's not going to be in my lifetime, I don't think, but at some point, if we recognize that there's a need for a boat launch in that 30-mile stretch between Bailey's Harbor and Sawyer Park and Sturgeon Bay, publicly owned land on bedrock, deep water, close to shore. It's got all the things lined up for it to happen in that area of Whitefish Dunes Park. The town of Sturgeon Bay is too close to the ship canal. Town of Bailey's Harbor is too close to Bailey's Harbor to serve as an intermediate or a middle of the road access. So Jacksonport and Sevastopol are the two logical locations. Jacksonport really doesn't have any shoreline that would be as good because it's either too far out to deep water or it's sand. I mean, there's other issues. So I'm coming here tonight to ask you folks, in your official capacity and in a personal capacity, to do what you can do to look down the road from above for a good planning going out into the future. I've got no skin in the game on this, but it just doesn't make sense to create two dead-end roads, disrupt a natural area that's untouched right now. It just doesn't make sense at all. On the bay side, we've got 8 all-weather good boat launches in that same 30-mile stretch, whereas there's none on the lakeside. And this past spring, Bailey's Harbor was not accessible for a good part of the spring because the DNR regulations would not allow them to dredge the opening. And that's all sand in there. When you get a blow, that sand moves. I see Dan looking at his watch. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Obviously, it's not on our agenda. As you know, Dick, I've been on this board long enough. that we've undertaken feasibility studies in the past. This is going to be a tough route. There's so much that has progressed on some of this, especially Shower Park Road and the changes in there. It's going to be tough, I think, to stop something that's moving along, at this point, versus what we tried to do earlier, which was to expand the road into the park. We ran into so many difficulties there because there are burial sites under that road, and the state knows that. So the new route that's proposed is to alleviate congestion, to reduce accidents, to eliminate people parking on the old road, because they would continue to ignore the no parking signs because they could access the beach, the bluff areas, the rocky shoreline easier. So there's a lot of people that are involved in it. I would suggest that maybe the next time there's a meeting at the county level on Shower Road, that talk to the parks, help me with the name here.
Wayne Spricka.
Yes, Wayne Spricka, thank you. And maybe come to that meeting to get an assessment as to where we are with that project. Our effort here has been in the past to expand that road with little or no success. We've made significant investments in paving, repaving, fixing. The state I don't think the state's going to give us any more land there, and it makes it more difficult for us to deal with it. And it's our intention, quite frankly, to give the road to the county, because as dumb as it sounds, we have a town road going to a county park through a state park. And the only reason I think we ever had that road was when Whitefish Bay Dunes was started. That road was in our repertoire, and so we were stuck with it. And it sounds kind of silly, but we're making all the investments, and there's nothing there for our benefit. So frankly, I'd love to have them have that road, whether it's the existing or the new, so that we don't have that burden. But we'll kick it around and see. I think the best course of action would be to get hold of Wayne and see if you can make the next meeting that they have with the updates on where they're at, because the state's invested time and resources into verifying that the route that they have proposed is free of any encumbrances, whether that be a burial ground or protected species or endangered species or whatever.
So I guess if one of the concerns is burial grounds under that road, the damage is done.
Well, that's
So
not their perspective.
Yeah, whose ox is being gored?
Yeah.
It's just, they can't widen the road out. However, when it accommodated a pull-off lane for backed up traffic to the ticket office, they could widen that road out to 3 lanes.
Oh, yeah.
So, like I say, whose ox is being gored, and if the desire is there, there's more than one way to skin that cat.
Well, I think that's the best course of action, at least for the short term, is get an assessment from the state, the county, in terms of where this project rests, because I think that would be a key component of what you're suggesting, depending on the road. So.
And I intend to approach the town of Jacksonport and the county board,
Okay.
much as I am here tonight. But what I'm asking you folks, you sit in influential positions, and when you look at this thing from above, if it doesn't make sense, then why do it? And I'm sure there's a lot of, I'll call them NIMBYs, not in my backyard, that would like to see the peace and quiet along that Shore Park Road or whatever the name of the road is.
Right.
But by the same token, when it comes to snow removal, you and I both know that snow removal on a county road is going to take precedent over a dead-end town road. It's just common sense, along with other issues.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it, we have to leave it at this point in time today, but see what
All right,
happens
thank
after you touch base with them, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
So, anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none, all right, we will move on. All right. I suppose we should ask if the agenda was properly noticed, was it, Amy?
The agenda has been properly noticed.
Shocking, I kind of thought that might be. How about a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
Motion by Linda, second by Derek to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from December 18th of 2023.
Okay, I will move to approve the minutes as presented in our packet of our last meeting on Monday, December 18th, 2023.
Motion by Linda, second by? Second by Mark. Approve the minutes, December 18th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Next item of business is, I think pretty much from our last conversation, will be somewhat of a formality, which is the approval from the board for the signing of the AT&T contract for broadband for our community. We also discussed at last month's meeting the finance options. As you know, Jeannie couldn't make it tonight. She's not feeling well, but I did get her opinion on that. I'll save it for a moment, but I'd like to hear your opinions on the financing options. Basically, the first one, if you recall, was to use town funds at this point in time, wait until the payment is due, then take options to either borrow or not borrow based on the time and the interest rate. After that, the option was to borrow everything in advance with some, which I don't think made a lot of sense. But those were basically the two, depending on what your thoughts are.
Go ahead, Linda.
Pardon me?
Go ahead, Linda.
Oh,
Well-
sorry.
All of my questions were answered last month when we talked about the contract itself, the agreement, so I'm okay with that. As far as scenario number one, town making the first payment out of our reserves or designated funds, so that would be the initial payment of $556,836, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more payments after that in specified amounts, 2025, and probably the rest of them in 25. And to borrow as needed,
Correct.
not just one lump sum up front, just borrow as needed. Because
And-
interest rates are gonna fluctuate up and down, and just borrow as needed makes the most sense to me. I don't think we have any problem with getting the funds from the Board of the Land Commissioners like we have in the past, so.
No, and I have confirmed in writing with them that there is not a limit on borrowing for this type of project.
So the
So-
number of loans that we can take out.
If we want to take out 5 loans or 8 or whatever, there's not a limit, so we don't have an issue with that. If rates drop significantly and we want to borrow it all, we can, or we can piecemeal it as we go. The other thing we'll do is make accounting for Amy a little more difficult.
The example indicates loans over a period of 10 years.
Yes. They
I'm
don't have to be.
okay with 10 years.
I think the piece with 10 years, Linda, it really depends on the payment and the interest rate and what it does to the tax bill. You know, it was just an example. We could go 5, 10, or 20 years is the max.
Is the max, I know that.
And so we'd have to juggle the timelines based on how we parcel this out, or if we go and borrow it all at some point in time. You know, it just depends on the interest rates.
Yeah, your examples there, so if we borrowed $557,000 at 6 1/4 for 10 years, that yearly payment of $75,000, that's principal and interest?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I believe scenario number one as presented would probably
Okay.
be my preference.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that as well. Use what we have in our resources and then
Okay.
get loans as needed.
That'll
As
get
the
the ball
project goes
rolling
on.
faster, get it moving.
All right. So if, let's just do two motions. One, we'll do first motion just to approve the contract with AT&T, and then we'll do a second motion just agreeing on financing options, and then we'll move from there.
I have one question. So the grant date, do we have any idea of what that date is going to be?
I think
Because once,
they're supposed to do February, but I think we are expecting it could be as late as March, right, Hugh?
Yes.
Okay.
Latest discussion that was from the Door County broadband coordinator at last week's committee meeting was potentially early to mid-March.
okay. Because once we execute this agreement, we're locked in whether or not we get the grant or not, so.
Right. And Egg Harbor has done their paperwork and submitted it, right? And
For
AT&T
yes, their contracts.
and Sturgeon Bay, town of Sturgeon Bay, roughly
They are
close.
They are going through their contract discussions with their town board.
Okay. All right. So first motion would be to authorize the contract between us and AT&T.
I'll make that motion to sign the contract between the town of Sevastopol and AT&T.
All right, motion by Mark, second by Derek. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And by the way, Jeannie was in favor of this. You'd be shocked. Motion carried. Okay. So it would really be stunning if she wasn't. Second item is the finance scenario, which would be to take the first payment, roughly right, $557,000 out of our designated funds, and then to replenish it as and when we need to. So,
Okay, I will make that motion that we, as far as financing the AT&T services, that we make the first payment, as our chairman said, out of our designated funds, roughly $556,836, and then arranging for loans on an as-needed basis to cover the rest of the contract payments.
okay. Motion by Linda,
Second.
second by Mark. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jeannie also supported scenario one, so we're in sync there. Okay, good. So I fully expect that AT&T is probably even working in the background, given the fact that Egg Harbor and us, and looks like maybe town of Sturgeon Bay will all be customers of theirs. So, moving on, EMR quarterly update before Kurt slides into oblivion back there. And I'll let Derek and Kurt tell us where we're at with that and the bylaws. So,
All right, I've been a little crazy with the snow lately, but we roughly last year had between 290 and 300 calls, with about a 60 to 70% response rate. We had one retired, Mr. Flieger retired as an EMR, and we will potentially be getting one more. He's just waiting on his national and state paperwork. As far as the bylaws, I have not heard anything since I talked to Derek back in October, so I have no idea where we're at with that, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
As far as the bylaws, I have not heard anything from Derek since, I believe it was October I talked to him, and I don't know what's going on with that, so. I've been waiting for Derek's revisions to see where we're sitting with what he's suggested, so.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know you said you were busy, so.
still working on it. As far as some of the major revisions that are gonna have to take place, record keeping is gonna be priority number one. All of the meetings and run reports, things like that, things like that is all open to public record.
We don't do run reports because we don't file to the state.
We'll talk on the side on this.
Okay.
There's gonna be some changes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you say run reports?
Yeah, just basic personnel reports of who was on call, and that all has to have, record keeping through the town.
I do believe, from a conversation I had with one of the crew chiefs up north one day, that they do keep records, but it is in a,
We have to keep all patient personal information out
right,
of it.
that's
Right.
all excluded, but
Correct.
he did indicate that there was a process or a method where you could do this without impinging on
Yeah,
HIPAA.
we do it on different departments already.
Okay.
There's a program on the computer that everybody uses, and they just put in what the call was and what responders went for the most part, so.
Okay,
But
well, I'd
yeah,
like to,
no patient information can be given or anything like that, obviously.
yeah, no, I understand that. I'd like to see the two of you get together and resolve this, because this has been hanging out there for
I agree.
a bunch. All right, we'll bring you back in 3 months, and hopefully then we'll have this finalized and can move on to something else.
Sounds good?
All right, thank you. All right, Park and Rec update from Mr. Hain. A couple things there. I want to talk a little bit about memorandum of understanding. I can help on the concession stand piece.
Sure, thank you. Memorandum of understanding, we've been working for months and months and months with the school. Basically, trying to get an agreement for everybody to understand who does what when they're using the field and before they leave the field, what our day-to-day aspects are over there, what theirs are. With our $10,000 contract that we have signed with them, the school board would really like to see where the X's and O's, where everything's going. So we've been working and working and working, and we believe we finally got her down to the brass tacks and got her all figured out. They have 4 people on their committee. We have 7 in our committee, and it's been kind of tough to get all the people together. Brooke, the athletic director of school, has 2 kids in sports. I have 3 kids, 2 kids in sports, and everybody's got stuff going on. So it's been a long haul, but I think we finally made it, and the board got to take a quick look tonight. If you guys got any questions on that, we can go through that. Otherwise, I'd really like to be able to try to get this approved tonight so they can take it to the school board on Wednesday, Thursday, whenever that is.
Wednesday, the 25th.
Thursday, 25th. Do we need to go through anything so we kind of talk about it before, Linda?
Yeah, my only question would be, I mean, it addresses the fields mostly. So, under payment, under Article 6, where it said the schools shall pay $10,000 every year for all town park and town hall use. I guess I don't know why the town hall is included in there. I think we have a really good relationship as to using the town hall.
It's actually, if you look at the top, it's actually town of Sevastopol facility use.
Okay.
So we kind of made it one big umbrella of it all.
Yeah, and that it would, you know, we mentioned precedents too. Obviously, if we have an election or something, we can't. That could probably be negotiated, so. But I have no problem using the town, with them using the town hall at all. Very convenient, nice quiet space for them, for testing and whatever else. So banquets and,
Okay.
no problem.
Derek, anything?
So do we just do a motion to
approve. From the circle, we'll sign it, send it back to Kyle for approval. There is one component with this that we talked about though before we go there, which is we were going to take an extract of this Appendix B and try and put together a job posting, more or less.
Yep.
Where are we at with that, respect?
Not too far along with it. Brian and I have talked a little bit and need to get our heads together on that a little more.
Because we really need to, if anybody out there's got a grandchild, son, daughter, whatever, would like to work at the park, please let Mark or myself know. But we really need to get on that one. As I think I cut out last month, City of Sturgeon Bay's been running ads for their summer help. So if there's anyone that knows someone else that's got a reliable person that would like to work, we'd like to put them to work. So other than that,
Oh, one question, Mark. The field consultant, is that something to be decided on, or?
Well, we didn't want to name names because people come and go.
Okay.
But as of now, it's Mitch Anderson, and he also has a gentleman from town that's working with him.
Oh.
That's a field expert as well, so
So that's
we didn't
someone-
want, like, when you have like the park chairman, you don't name names because, like I say, people come and go, so they're just kind of broad.
He's been doing our fields
Okay,
for.
right, I recall
number of
that
years.
name from,
Yep.
yeah. So, and you and the school just work out who that's gonna be?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay.
Anything else?
Before we do a motion, I'll just take a couple minutes on the restroom project, which I think people are familiar with. We have been working to replace the restrooms that are currently located in the concession stand as one project, and part two of that project is to take the concession stand, remodel it after the restrooms have been pulled out, and expand the concession area, the cleanup and freezer rooms, et cetera. Amy did a fabulous job for us last year and was able to garner a $70,000 grant through Destination Door County, through the Community Foundation. So we have that in addition to monies that we have budgeted over the last year. I'm in the process of trying to, or I should say have been in the process of trying to finalize some grant paperwork for some additional funding, but have been stymied by the fact that the project was small and all of the contractors were very occupied and we were unable to get any bids. So I think I mentioned earlier that Henry Isaacson had donated his time to do some of the design and bid documentation for us. And through his efforts, he was able to get a connection with a construction company. So they are in the process of getting us some bids, which are a requirement for me to be able to apply for any further grants. And we're hopeful that we will have that, those bids by the end of this month, hopefully, and maybe make the grant cycle for February, worst case March, for a project that we would hope that would start in the fall of this year. Two separate projects, one is the new restroom and the other one is the concession stand, so it gets a little complex. But anyway, it's a work in progress. We have some drawings if anybody's interested in taking a look at them. I think that's pretty much where we're at with that project at the moment. So, any questions? If not, then Mark, why don't you make a motion to accept this memorandum of understanding?
I can do that. I would like to make a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement between the school district of Sevastopol and town of Sevastopol for the town of Sevastopol for facility use.
All right, motion by Mark, second by Jeannie? No.
Derek.
Second by Derek. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Linda, I got a bunch of things with you. The Door County Tourism, Plan Commission, you name it.
Did you just want a quick overview of what's been happening for the last
That would be good.
year?
It doesn't have to be overly lengthy.
Okay, I'll try to keep it concise. The Door County Tourism Zone Commission, so we have, it's made up of all 19 municipalities here in Door County. There are 30 commissioner officers, so some municipalities have more than one. It's based on the amount of room tax that you collect. So like Sevastopol, we have actually 2 commissioners on that board. And we meet monthly. We just, in December, we approved the 2024 budget for the zone, which is up about 11% from the previous year. And this is an administrative budget. The reason for the increase is we are adding an extra full-time person to work at the zone, joining Juliana Boehm, who does an excellent job. So we will have 2 full-time in the office plus a part-time hourly person. We also decided to sell, current offices have been in the Sister Bay commercial condominium unit. So we are They are selling that unit to Kerber Rose conveniently without just, they wanted the space, so no commission or anything. That's going to happen, and then the office is going to move to a space in the Door County Economic Development, the incubator offices over there. And we felt that was a good move, especially since we are seeking an additional employee, that maybe being closer to Sturgeon Bay would be more attractive than having to go all the way to Sister Bay. So we'll see how that works out. So we won't have the condominium dues or anything like that. Our rent is, I think it's around $700 a month. And we get the use of, I think, 3 offices and a conference room whenever we need it. So that was a pretty good deal. Room tax collections for 2023 amounted to about $10.7 million. The budget, we actually reflected a 2% decrease since room tax revenues are slightly down or expected to be slightly down for 2024. And again, I mentioned Kerber Rose CPA. We have engaged them as our bookkeeper. They maintain the database of all the records, the accounting system, payroll, issue checks, reconcile bank accounts, and all that. We do have an executive committee meeting this Thursday. There are currently, as of January 2024, 1,510 permits issued compared to 1,432 permits in 2023. I was going to mention that. Oh, and of those permits, I found this interesting. So of those permits, 77% are homes, and there's 1% are B&Bs, 13% are condos, and resorts and hotels and commercial inns account for approximately 8%. So I found that interesting. Door County has 128,000 room nights available, so 128,000 units or whatever. Right now, the average nightly rate is $233, and occupancy is at about 47%. So that's about it for the zone. The Plan Commission, thank you to all of our Plan Commission members, Laird Salisbury, Jay Hubner, Mary Ellen Ramstack, Hugh Zettel, Derek Daniel, and Mike Wallabin. We had 5 meetings last year, and at our Plan Commission meetings, we address conditional use permits, petitions for rezone or variances. We also talked about the Door County's intent to update its comprehensive and farmland preservation plan. We also look at, receive a regular update on our short-term rental situation, compliance, understanding. We actually amended our ordinance last year. And I did reach out to Mariah Good at Land Use Department. Last year, they do offer educational sessions, which is always a good thing for plan commissioners and even municipal officers to attend. So she's hoping that they can do some of those this year. And we just received a petition to rezone today, so we will be having a meeting next month. So again, thank you to all our Plan Commission members. Door County Coastal Byway. We had a meeting this morning. Our budget, we're pretty modest when it comes to the Coastal Byway. The budget's a little high for 2024 because we're hoping to reprint 20,000 copies of our coloring book. This would be the 3rd run of our coloring book. It's been very popular. We're totally out. Of course, printing costs and everything else has gone up, so we have applied for a grant from the Community Investment Fund to help cover that, so fingers crossed that will happen.
I'm not taking our restroom money.
Yours is already guaranteed and
I know.
approved.
All right.
Yeah, I had to submit some additional information today, actually, so. We've been pretty modest, I think, with our requests from the municipalities. There's 8 municipalities involved in Northern Door, and our request has usually been around $300, $500 a year from each of those municipalities to cover our annual web hosting site and just the rack services. We use Paperboy for rack services and a few other incidentals. So that's the Coastal Byway. And again, thank you to all the people that serve on that. You didn't have Destination Door County,
I didn't want to bring up a sore point.
but
You
the
did see that.
tourism zone now does, you know, with our request for transparency as to what's happening at Destination Door County, we actually get to look at their budget before they approve it. So we did look at their 2024 budget, which they are anticipating revenues of $7,738,000 roughly, compared to slightly more than $8 million last year. And expenses, $7,683,000 compared to almost $8,000 last year. So, like I said, we do get to look at their budget.
Are they expecting to do any, you know, same kind of thing, carry forward the community funds?
Yes.
And everything is
Yes.
pretty much as is?
And costs will be up from Destination Door County as well. They are adding a director of community partnerships to work with the community business associations, that partnership. And that budget did include $750,000 into the community investment fund.
Oh, great,
So,
okay.
and I think
Think we covered it
that's all I have.
Any questions from the board? No? All right, thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Appreciate all the things that you do for us.
You are very welcome.
Mr. Chairman, we've got a minor technical problem. Could you pause just 1 minute and I'll get it fixed?
Sure.
Okay. That's all it'll take.
Pause for 2